This is the Turf Zone Podcast, your central information and news hub, bringing together professionals from turf associations across multiple states to share things to help you in your business. Brought to you in partnership with our friends at the New England Sports Turf Managers Association. Now, let's get in the zone.
Welcome to the Turf Zone. In this episode, we feature an article titled The Do's and Don'ts of Spring Fertility by Bill Cruiser, Extension Turfgrass Specialist, University of Nebraska. Generally, I warn against a lot of nitrogen fertilization in early spring. Turf usually grows at a rapid rate once soil temperatures remain around 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. This explosion of growth is thought to be from freeze-thaw cycles during the winter that release plant-available nitrogen. Microbial activity is also low in early spring because the soils are cold. This means the grass roots have less competition for mineral nitrogen, and the grass surges once temperatures are conducive for growth in the spring. The spring growth surge can also be related to late fall and early winter nitrogen fertilization. Applying nitrogen at this time is very inefficient, and most of the fertilizer remains in the soil until growth resumes in spring or it is lost to the environment. Adding large quantities of additional nitrogen in early spring can promote excessive shoot growth. This depletes carbohydrate, sugar reserves, before the stress of summer. This is the reason I advocate to use standalone preemergence herbicides, PREs, for the first spring app. A combination fertilizer plus PRE product is better for a sequential application in late spring, early summer. There are situations where early season nitrogen may be appropriate. In most cases, however, only small amounts of nitrogen, 0.1 to 0.5 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, are required to positively impact the turf. Use soluble or sulfur-coated nitrogen sources. Avoid natural or synthetic organics and polymer-coated products that need active microbial communities to release nutrients. Here are just a few examples. High traffic in spring. Turf areas with extensive use in spring can benefit from small applications of nitrogen application in spring to promote regrowth and recovery. Typical areas would include sports fields and golf courses with a lot of spring play. Lightly shaded areas. The lower sun angle in the fall can usually increase shade stress around trees and other structures. This leads to thinning of the turf in late fall. It can be beneficial to supply small amounts of nitrogen in the spring to build density and store sugars before the trees leaf out. Shaded areas, as a rule, should be treated with minimal nitrogen, especially when the trees are full of leaves. Too much nitrogen in shade reduces carbohydrate reserves and promotes excessive growth as the turf tries to outgrow the trees. New turf stands. Areas of turf that were established last fall likely need more nitrogen fertilization to build density before the summer. These areas should receive enough fertilizer to promote 100% cover before the summer annual weeds take over later in the year. Older turf stands will need less nitrogen in the spring to achieve acceptable color than stands established in the past couple years. Achieve even green up. Sometimes turf stands do not green up evenly. This could be from different species of lawn, i.e. tall fescue is generally slower than perennial ryegrass or older cultivars of Kentucky bluegrass. There may also be differences in the soil or dog spots from winter. In these cases, small amounts of fertilizer will stimulate green up without placing extra stress on the plant. Spring is also a good time to soil test for other nutrients. The most important nutrients to test for are phosphorus and potassium. Use a lab that can do the Malick 3 soil test method. For example, Yukon Soil Nutrient Analysis Lab, www.soiltest.yukon.edu, or UMass Soil and Plant Nutrient Testing Lab, https://ag.umass.edu. Surfaces, Soil, Plant, Nutrient Testing Laboratory. Fix deficiencies in the spring before the heat and stress of the summer. Bill Cruiser is Assistant Professor and Extension Turfgrass Specialist at the University of Nebraska. Contact Bill at WKREUSER2 at unl.edu. This article originally appeared in STMA's Industry News Online, April 2019. Don't miss an episode of the Nestma Blade podcast. Subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check us out at theturfzone.com.
You've been listening to The Turf Zone. For more episodes of The Turf Zone, visit theturfzone.com and subscribe on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app.